Ukrainian residents of a bombed village in the Donetsk region recounted on Tuesday the harrowing moments of the attack and sudden loss of loved ones. A Russian glide bomb struck a village in eastern Ukraine as people stood in line in the open air to collect their monthly pension. The blast killed at least 23 people and wounded 18 others, officials said. The bomb hit the village of Yarova at around 11 a.m. local time, authorities said. The village lies less than 10 kilometers from the front line. It was the latest Russian attack to kill civilians. Yarova resident Hennadii Trush said his wife was killed in the blast as she waited to collect the pension of her bedridden mother-in-law. Afterwards, Hennadii fled Yarova with his elderly mother, who was carried out on a stretcher. In shock and with soot still on his face, Trush wept as he described the scene of the attack. "It was beyond words," he told the Associated Press. Before, strikes landed on the outskirts. This time it was right in the center of the village, he added. Pavlo Diachenko, head of communications for the Donetsk Regional Police, said he arrived at the scene shortly after the strike. "The picture was horrific, the whole village was on fire," he told AP. Yarova is located north of the Donetsk city of Lyman, an area where Russia has intensified attacks recently as it probes for weaknesses in Ukrainian defenses and seeks to advance into the northern part of the region. Despite the risks, many people remain in their homes because they have no means of relocating or they need to care for elderly relatives with disabilities.
Ще чуть-чуть потягнемо. Оп, все, лягайте. Нормально? Спина як? Так, да. Давай, не, стойте. Давай, я принимаю.
А я его подниму, давай.
Давайте, я готов. Рука. Надо сюда.
Надо водички, да. Бабушки.
Ну, а как ты скинешь? А че это набор? Так, а что, я не помню это?
Поїхала.
Это дедушкины, это вперед написано.
Поїхала. По пенсію, каже, прийшла смс-ка. Поїду бабушки пенсію получу.
Это папины документы?
Поїхала. І мене через 20, мабуть. Чую, свистить. Шандарахнуло. Я вийшов із двору. Дивлюся, десь зі сторони центру піднімається гриб. Починаю дзвонити, зв'язку немає. Телефон не робить. А перед цим вона тільки Дімі позвонила, скинула дзвонок. Не знаю. Діма поїхав туди велосипедом. А я слід. Тоді мені сусід перезвонив, він теж там був. Каже, у центрі прильот був. Каже, чоловік 20 накрило.
Надо, чтобы у вас ну вот возле меня сколько везет.
Я на машину сів, туди приїхав. Це мене був словом не передасть.
Оксана тут есть, нет?
1053, да.
Обстрілювали, не так. То по краю було прильоти зі сторони Дробишева. А це прямо та по лісі було, а це прямо по центру, по селу.
Смотри, вот...
Не оцінював события. Та мені ще не дошло, що я виїхала.
Сьогодні зранку, близько 11 години, стався авіаудар по селищу Ярова, це невеличке селище біля Лиману. Удар було здійснено попередньо КАП-250 з УМПК, і удар прийшовся в центральну частину селища, де в той момент отримували пенсію місцеві мешканці. Тобто людей було дуже багато в цьому місці. І велике таке сукупчення. І прямо безпосередньо біля автівки служби доставки, Укрпошти, відбувся цей удар. Відразу ж на місце прибули поліцейські, рятувальники, надавали допомогу, багато загиблих. Тобто станом на той момент одразу первинна інформація була, це 21 загиблий цивільний.
Той, що робив РСУ.
Тобто на місці все відпрацювалося дуже швидко, тому що селище постійно потерпає від ударів. Одразу після цього ми заїхали в місто з екіпажем Білого Янголу, бо отримали інформацію на евакуацію, заявки. Картина дуже жахлива, все селище палає.
Постав його наверх.
Куди? Наверх.
Ukraine has disabled about 17% of Russia's oil refining capacity. If the Ukrainian armed forces destroy about half of the potential in the European part of the Russian Federation, this will have a serious impact on oil supplies, the country's economy, and the ability to conduct military operations. Political and economic expert Taras Zagorodny told Glavred about this in an interview. According to him, it is difficult to determine the critical percentage for Russia that could provoke internal discontent and force Russian elites to make concessions during negotiations. Zagorodny emphasized that as long as Vladimir Putin remains in power, there is no talk of any concessions from Russia. It doesn't matter what happens to Russia and in Russia because Putin is concerned about completely different things, he noted. Ukraine's main task, according to Zagorodny, should be to collapse the enemy's rear, to disrupt Moscow's work and to strike at the oil and gas complex, which will make Russia's offensive actions impossible. I assume that if we knock out up to half of the Russian Federation's oil refining capacity in the European part of Russia, this will greatly affect supplies, the economy and Russia's ability to fight. After all, look, as soon as oil prices dropped, the Russian budget deficit increased eightfold, and there is nothing to cover it with. In Russia, they are already talking about introducing a food rationing system. This is a very real scenario for Russia. There is no other way out, since it has nothing to cover the budget deficit with, the expert said. Zagorodny emphasized that Ukraine should gradually destroy the Russian oil and gas complex because it is this strategy that allows Russia's ability to wage war to the greatest extent possible. As the expert noted, this corresponds to Marcus Aurelius's principle, do what you must and come what may. A dramatic rise in Ukrainian attacks on Russian oil refineries has sent gasoline prices in Russia to record highs, despite the government banning petrol exports to cope with the crunch. Ukraine is focusing drone attacks on refineries, pumping stations, and fuel trains in an effort to hurt the Russian war machine, but also to disrupt daily life in Russia. Summer sees peak demand among Russia's drivers and farmers for petrol. Ukrainian drones have struck at least 10 key Russian energy facilities last month alone.